Welcome to the ODDSBREAKER'S number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 53 of 2020. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the ODDSBREAKERS. Follow us on social media, including YouTube and Twitch/the ODDSBREAKERS. This episode is being brought to you by mybookie.ag, and we now have a 200% sign-up bonus at MyBookie using the promo code ODDS200. Terms and conditions and location apply. Check out MyBookie for a huge 200% promo code. They are allowing the ODDSBREAKERS to use this special code for the whole football season. Really excited that MyBookie was able to put up like that. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the podcast and the website, we would love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member for $17.99 a month. You can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. My friends, we are on NFL Week 3, college football Week 4. Very excited to get into this podcast because we have a fantastic guest. Mr. Ralph Michaels from wagertalk.com is coming on to break down some college football. And I got to tell you, I'm very excited. Ralph has been a longtime friend of the show, and he is the best system bettor and possibly even sports bettor in general, tactical bettor, situational bettor that I've ever seen. I mean, the man just comes up with amazing situational stats, situational trends. Love following Ralph on Twitter. So excited that he's coming on. Before I get into that, I noticed that my bankroll was a little bit higher than it was supposed to. And I'm like, what the hell, right? I think I noticed that on Monday. And then I looked today, and I just realized that for the Cerrone fight, I purposely threw a few bucks on Cerrone to tie for a draw against Nico, and somehow that actually worked out. I look, and they did draw. I totally forgot that I put that down, and it paid 50-1. Now, I don't know why it did that. I think I just realized that these guys probably are not going to knock each other out, and they're pretty close. So I was kind of doing an experiment. And I mean, I only threw like $5 on it, right? But either way, I was intrigued by it because I would never give out a draw for a premium play like that for Nico Price versus Cerrone or anybody. But now I'm thinking, a draw in the UFC is. It's less frequent than 50 fights. It's less frequent than that. But maybe it's a little bit more frequent when the fighters are going to for sure go the distance and the fighters are evenly matched, right? So I expect the draws odds to be different a little bit if that's the case. But it's something I'm going to just investigate a little bit and find out if there is opportunity to put money on draws a little bit more often than you do. I mean, the thing is, you're not going to hit them often, and they're going to cut into your bankroll so much if you don't hit that 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 30 or whatever those odds end up being. So I was kind of intrigued by it, and I'm going to do some more research for it. But we have a big UFC event coming up this weekend, UFC 253. There's a couple main events in this one. Israel Adonijah is fighting Paulo Costa. That should be a pretty good fight. Both fighters are great. Another title fight here for the vacant light heavyweight title when John Jones left it. Dominic Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz. So that's an interesting one. We have a couple other decent bouts on this as well. So I'm going to get into this card a little bit and have a free play for you, hopefully, if it warrants one. Otherwise, I'll just pass. on the UFC 253. So we're going to keep this positive, a lot more happy than last one. Not going to mention the officials.
I have no idea what's going on.
Not going to mention the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to stick with positivity, my friends, because I'm feeling great about this week and this weekend. We have the NFL going to start out giving out our NFL free plays before we get Ralph on from wagertalk.com. Let's start right out with the Buffalo Bills against the LA Rams. Well, it's actually the Rams going to the Bills. The spread is about -2 or -2.5. The over-under is about 47. Pretty high for a Bills game right there at 47, I must say. But either way, this Bills team is 1-1 against the spread, but they're definitely better than people think. I mean, that Miami game, the Bills made some stupid mistakes at the end. We're aggressive, but at the same time, maybe they should be aggressive. Josh Allen is a fantastic quarterback according to some of the rankings out there. If you look at some of the advanced stats, Josh Allen ranks 4th in total QBR. I find that very interesting. They have some wonderful receivers there, right? With John Brown, with the guy from the Vikings, Diggs. You have Cole Beasley, a couple tight ends, Devin Singletary. I like what they did in the offseason. On the offensive side, for sure. The defense was kind of, we'll see. But the Rams can't really say the same about their luck last week. The Bills were not injured. The Rams kind of were. Rookie running back Cam Akers last week went out of the game early for a rib injury. Malcolm Brown came in, hurt his finger, and Devery Henderson is going to have to pretty much pick up all the slack there. He was a fantasy pickup this week. But Brown's injury, not great for a running back because even though it's your pinky, you still have to hold the ball, switch hands. Sometimes when you're running to the right. You know, you switch the ball to the right. You're running to the left. You switch it to the left. You don't want it sticking out where the tacklers can pop it, right? That's what running backs do. So they have that running back injury and obviously Brown's little finger injury. Cam Akers will miss. And they also lost starting guard Joe Noteboom, all right? That's a position of weakness for them. Not a lot of depth. They lost some guys in the offseason, the free agency there. And he might play, but he'll still be banged up. And because of this, I see the Bills D getting to Jared Goff quickly, unlike what the Cowboys and Eagles could do, really. They could not get to him quickly at all. And, you know, that whole dink and dunk misdirection stuff, it's going to take, they have to do it a lot quicker than they have before if you're Sean McVay. And the Bills will play that aggressive style defense. You know, if they can't get to the quarterback, Goff might have some shots downfield. So I believe that's how they're going to play the Rams, right? So the COVID restriction for the Rams really threw them off. They were planning on staying on the East Coast after that Eagles game. But the restrictions saying you can't stay in a hotel over so many days. So it kind of threw their plans off. They had to go back home. And they are coming all the way back to the East Coast. So massive travel spot there, right? That itself kind of throws off the psyche sometimes of the coaches and the teams themselves. Now, the Rams have burned me last week, right? They burned me against the Eagles, but you're starting to figure out that the Eagles aren't quite as good as people think. As a matter of fact, I know it's early, but Pro Football Outsiders ranks the Eagles, I think, almost dead last in total DVOA, right? Actually, it is dead last in total DVOA behind the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos, the Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets. Obviously, Cleveland's game was thrown way off, but you figured that the Eagles should have been able to do a little bit better with what their competition, the Washington Redskins, for crying out loud, and the Rams traveling all the way there. So I'm not too sold on this Eagles team, especially the fact that they had some people come back. So bravo Rams for what you did. You beat the Cowboys at home. You beat them well. You kind of outcoached the new coach they have there in McCarthy from the Packers, which I called more of a lateral move, going from bad coach to maybe bad coach there. So either way, we can talk about Jason Garrett and McCarthy comparisons later. More importantly, I think that the Bills cover the short spread here of -2. I think that this is going to be a premium play for us. So we're going to take the Bills -2 here, and I bet you this thing closes at -3 or better. Make sure you get it quick.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
For our next play, free play that we are giving you, Houston at Pittsburgh -4.5. Over under is 45. Gave this one out at 5. Houston is starting out 0-2 and 0-2 against the spread. How bad is this team is the question that needs to be asked. Let's look at the facts. They were a playoff team last year. That's good. They have a stud QB. That's good. They traded their other best player away for garbage. That's bad. They have one of the worst coaches in the NFL. That is also bad. Here's the kicker. Who did they play their first 2 weeks of football? The two best teams in the nation. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Give them a break. The Texans are desperate right now, right? Very desperate. And we have to put it in perspective. Who did they face? All right. They actually are kind of a middle of the road team, especially in yards per play. They're still 5.6 yards per play, ranking 16th, and defense ranking 19th at 5.9. I would argue that's not that bad when you're facing the best team. If you're facing the two best teams every single week for 16 weeks and you're in the middle in yards per play, that means you're probably more of a top 8 team, right? I actually would argue that the Steelers, on the other hand, didn't play that good of a schedule. The Giants, we've seen how bad they are. They should have lost by a bigger margin against the Bears. And a very injured and quarterbackless Broncos team covered there. The Steelers against those two bad teams only averaged 5.7 yards per play on offense. And of course, they have that great defense at 4.5 yards per play opponents coming in to play the Steelers. Now, I want to see what the Steelers defense can do against a Deshaun Watson-led offense myself. That's what I want to see. One thing that sticks out to me is that the Steelers are not the greatest favorite as of late. They're not. Since November 2018, they are 2-10 against the spread as a favorite. That's bad. The Steelers beat the Broncos by 5, but can they beat the Texans by 5 at home? I'm going to take the desperate team here with J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson here. And I took it at 5, but I like it at 4.5. I like it all the way down to 3. All right. I think they have a shot to win the game. So make sure you take that 4.5 and make sure you sprinkle that money line. All right. For our next play, we have a teaser, and we are going to start calling this the Refuse to Lose teaser. Last week was a loser. Unfortunately, we didn't refuse to lose, so now we have to refuse to lose. The first week was a winner, 1-1 in teasers. But we are going to take the Indianapolis Colts, tease it down to -5 against the Jets, and we're going to take the New York Giants all the way to +10. 2 stars premium on this teaser. So, Indy is passing 3 key numbers. That's what you want to do for teasers. If you can pass 3, that's great. You're passing 10, you're passing 7, and you're passing 6. 6 is more of a key number now, especially since the extra point has been moved back the last few years. So that's one big rule about teasers. The other rule is look for totals that are low. Well, the New York Giants against the 49ers are a very low total. The Giants are at home, and they're desperate, and the 49ers are starting Nick Mullins. New quarterback there. They're going to probably just want to get the hell out of there with a W as fast as possible. This low total is totally teaser friendly. So I'm going to tease, once again, the Colts down to -5 and the Giants down to +10. 2 stars on that teaser. Before we get into Ralph Michaels and the sharp side of the force, we are going to give you a little bit of fun. We're going to give you a money line parlay. Don't use your main bankroll for this, just your petty cash, your fun cash for something like this. I always have a little fun cash stashed away that sometimes grows if you win the parlays and sometimes doesn't. Just gives a little fun. I never give parlays as premium plays, but we're going to call it the Bow to the Gambling Gods parlay. We're going to take the NFL Colts at -529, the Browns against the Washington Redskins at -328. I know the Browns, but I think they win. Then in the college football, we're going to take Miami Hurricanes versus Florida State -369. We're going to take Baylor against Kansas -1,050. We're going to take Liberty at -241 against FIU. And then we're going to take Virginia Tech at -240. And so this will all pay over 3-1. It'll pay about 3.25-1 if this hits. So everybody, good luck on that if you decide to take it. And let's get into some serious sports betting discussion with our man, Ralph Michaels. And now I am very excited to bring on one of the best handicappers that I know, that I've been following for a very, very long time. His statistics and systems are exquisite. You can find him and his great plays at wagertalk.com. I'd like to welcome back Mr. Ralph Michaels to the Odds Breakers. You can follow him on Twitter at CalSportsLV. Ralph, college football's been here a few weeks, but it's starting to feel like it's actually back more with the SEC starting conference play.
Yeah, appreciate it, bud. Always enjoy doing your pod a few times a year. And you're right. I do a weekly schedule that I just, a simple schedule that I post with summer practices and the opening circuit numbers on my Twitter at CalSportsLV. And the schedule was pretty weak looking, but now with the SEC and now with enough slate of games to start finding some more and more value each week in the schedule, and knowing that, the Big Ten football's around the corner, it does feel like college football season.
Oh, they got me sweating with that Big Ten stuff. Don't get me wrong, man. You know it. But luckily enough, the pressure came in hard, and we have a Big Ten schedule, at least for now. So hopefully, me and you, we talked during the summer, and we were very skeptical about this college season, weren't we?
Well, I was let's put it this way. I was praying more than I was hoping.
Yeah, that's right. We were praying on our knees, because this is one of the better sports to handicap. So totally with you there, but it's happening now, and it looks like things are going well enough, at least, as long as nothing too crazy happens, to continue in this. But the most important thing is obviously finding value here. Wanted to know, what are some of the things that we learned from the last few weeks of college games?
Well, it's different in college football than it is in the NFL, Kiev. In college football, we've seen under so far. In this 2020 season, if you blindly played every under, you have cashed 62% of the time. The opposite is true in the NFL, as we've seen an increase in scoring of almost 9 points per game from the week 1 and 2 averages from 2014 through 2019 compared to the 2020 season. We have also seen that when you're looking at this young 2020 college football season, the teams that have won the games have covered, 66% of the time. So that means the dog has covered 37% of the time. And if you look at home teams so far this young season in college football, They've only gone 18, 28, and 2, 39.1% of the time. So perhaps the lines are over-adjusted. Perhaps we've always talked about how much home field is really associated in college football with the no fans. But again, dogs covering to the tune of 61% so far. Excuse me, road teams covering to the tune of 61%.
Wow, that is definitely something to keep an eye on there. Road dogs in college. And did you say an NFL road dog? Do we have a stat on that?
Well, so far the first 2 weeks in the NFL, when I went back to 2014 and 2019, and then went back from 2010 to 2019, the home team has covered under 49% in that span. We know that. The home team covers less than 50%. So far, after 2 weeks, the home team is almost 53%. So two different sports. College football, lower scoring and more road teams. NFL, higher scoring and the home teams. Now, the NFL is a different story. You have, 80% of your team is from one season to the next. You have most teams that have established quarterbacks, and we've seen a situation like we all watch Navy against BYU, that no practices has hurt the defenses, and we've seen the NFL have a lot of poor tackling. Well, in college football, we've had a lot of poor tackling, but I think we've had a lot of poor offensive performances as well, and that has tended to lend to those unders.
That makes total sense to me. College football just kind of coming in, that energy of the crowd seems bigger. The stadiums in many cases are bigger, but this, it spreads out through all of college football where the stadiums are not that big as well. Something to remember, the kids might thrive on home field a little bit more. And the unders, holy cow, unders are hitting there. That is an amazing stat. 62%, I believe you said. That's fantastic. So
it is, and even though we're 2 weeks in, though, guys, we're now into conference games with the ACC and the SEC, so it's too small of a sample size to start saying, okay, I want to pepper the board with unders. Just keep that in consideration and check the updated numbers week by week.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice right there. Speaking of great advice, what are your biggest power ratings adjustments from the last week? And you can even say the last two if you want. I got a couple teams. What are yours?
When we're looking at them, the funniest thing was I had moved Navy down 3 points after week one. So I'm watching Navy and Tulane. I had the under. It's 24-0 at half. And I go in and I move Navy down 4 more. I move them down 6 in a game and a half. And what happens? They go back. Their quarterback, after 59 yards in the first half, they score 27 unanswered in the second half and win in overtime, and I have to change my adjustments. So, you're looking at that. I have Boston College up 3. I have Georgia State up 3. I have Liberty up 4 thus far. I moved up SMU 3. I moved Western Kentucky down 3. So, when I'm doing power ratings, there's 2 things I do. Number one is you look at the score, but I will not change a power rating without going through the stats as well. And more importantly, as I go through the first half stats, because a game can be a runaway from you. If you are down 28-0 and you got mauled in the first half and your team quits, having a 60-point lead, there's still a limit I'm going to move you down. But if it's a team where you have your first string in the entire time and I'm watching you and you are just outmanned and I just had you power rated wrong, then I tend to move you more. So, if I don't watch a game, I have a limit of about 3 that I move. If I'm watching a game, I have a limit of 5 that I move on any 1 week. If I physically am watching a game, I am not afraid to change my power ratings by up to 5 spots.
No, I like it. And it's definitely more of an adjustment in college than in the pros. Mine was Miami up 4.5 points, Liberty up 4, Middle Tennessee State, I dropped down 6 because I I held tight after that first look with them, and I was wrong. And then I decided to make the double week adjustment on them. Western Kentucky down 5.5 points for me. So
yeah, I am down middle. I did drop middle 3 both times as well. Okay. I just happened to skip over them as you said that. Yeah, what they've proven is, I agree the first game with you. I moved them 2 the first time because, again, the first game of the season, you don't know how things are gonna prepare. But when you get the opponent, Troy, that you're semi-familiar with, that you're in the same power rating value with, and, losing 47-14 again, it can be very misleading. But when Troy has a 30-15 first down edge on you and you get outgained by 255 yards, it's time to make that double, as you said, that double week adjustment. Absolutely agree with that.
All right. Well, great stuff there. Glad we match up there. I always feel better when I match up with Ralph. I got to tell you that, man. Well, let's get into a few games then. And, what's funny, before that, during that Navy halftime, I was talking with you on the phone, and I think I complained about Navy just enough for them to switch quarterbacks to win the actual game in the second half. That's kind of the way I looked at it. If I didn't call Ralph and complain, they went to put in Dylan Morris. So it's
I don't think I've ever seen a bigger second half comeback. I've seen teams get shut out and not play well, but Navy had 59 yards in that first half. They were outgained 291-59. So it was a complete mismatch. But it also shows you, Tulane's coming down. If they don't throw that pick, Niamato Lolo said, that pick was the change of the emphasis. So just a note for live betting, when you see that big swing, obviously a 24-point, you're not ready to jump on Navy yet at that point. But when you see them alive, to be honest with you, if I were watching that game, I wasn't watching the second half because I turned it off. I still wouldn't have live bet them. People talk about, you should live bet them, but even after that turnover swing and scoring 1 touchdown and they cut it to 24-7, I still would have not live bet them because what my eyes saw the first 6 quarters.
It's crazy. The defense also changed and absolutely stuffed them to 0 points the second half. I mean, we can go on forever about this game, but it's just such a night and day situation. So the fact that I was on Navy on the plus side made me happy, definitely. But, it was challenging first week for a lot of sharp players. And I think this week's going to have some more information out there. Let's get right into a few games, and I have a couple bad ones. We'll save them to the end only if we have time here. But I'm going to start out with a firing game right here. We got Florida State versus Miami. Miami now 11.5 points. Total is 54. Any thoughts on this?
Miami played better than I thought they would last week. What they did, there's 2 thoughts to the game. When you think you have a notion on a team like Miami, obviously they beat UAB 31-14. They had a 492 to 285 yard edge. And you say, De'Ara King's going to be the right guy for the quarterback. But watching that game, I was not that impressed with Miami. So when I went in and I actually had a lean on Louisville, I didn't have a play. It's not though as if I'm upset with Miami. But, I thought Louisville would keep it close. So when you look at the box score and you say Miami moved for 516 yards, is the Louisville defense the same defense that allowed over 494 yards and 25 first downs in ACC play last year that allowed 485 to Miami? Or is it the Miami offense being very good? So there's still 2 different adjustments I am not done making. I go back through a game, and then I will wait one more game before I up my Louisvilles or down, or up my Miamis or down my Louisvilles completely to know which is true. So was it De'Ara King and was it Miami's offense? I look at this game and I'm afraid to play to the over adjustment. Right. Because let's be honest. If we made this line 2 weeks ago, Miami and Florida State, Miami would probably be about a 4-point favorite.
I agree.
Remember, Florida State came back loaded this year. This is before their loss to Georgia Tech. A lot of excitement with Mike Norvell, the new head coach. You had a quarterback that was experienced. You had 17 returning starters on Florida State, including 10 on the defensive end. So you make this line 5 just 2 weeks ago. Now you're laying 11 points. Why? Well, because Miami did what they did to Louisville, and Florida State did what they did, losing to Georgia Tech, in their one game. So a 6-point overreaction is too much for me to play in. I still know that this Florida State is a prideful team. These aren't 2- and 3-star recruits that went to Florida State. These are kids that were high 3s, 4s, and 5 stars. So losing your opener to Georgia Tech by 3 points in your first game when you're changing schemes to Mike Norvell doesn't affect me. Of course, it's been a road series. The road team has covered 6 straight. The road team has also gone 13-2 the last 15 games. I actually lean a little bit to the under here. We'll see how conservative you are. Obviously, Mike Norvell now has COVID, so he will be missing this game. You have your, he's a deputy head coach. I've never heard of a deputy head coach before. So that's what Chris Thompson has given himself a title for an assistant head coach, or, I've heard every other title Florida, there is. Is that what it is? So he's a deputy head coach as the interim. So, to me, that keeps me off the Canes, even if I was interested in backing them up. But, the Jackets, you look at what Florida State did early. They held the Jackets. The Jackets ended up breaking few big plays later and making that yardage look misleading. I lean the under. The no fans will keep Florida State more in the game. And again, I'm just not positive. I'm convinced that De'Ara King is is that same person that, is a Heisman candidate yet, with having played UAB in Louisville.
And I look at this game, and I've watched Miami's both of the games, and I lost on my UAB bet by a point. And I thought UAB played a good game, but I also thought that Miami should have beat them by a lot more. There was some rust right there, and they seemed to kind of pull it all together against Louisville. I mean, Miami, their pace of play just went way up, and it's to fit De'Ara King when he played at Houston there. That's kind of what I look at it, right? So when you have fast-paced teams, if there is a difference in a power rating, 10 points, 5 points, whatever it is, you got to adjust it up even a little bit more because they're going to have more plays. If there's a fast-paced team and they're worse, then you got to adjust it down a little bit more sometimes, for your final score or whatever spread you're going to set, the way I look at it. And Mike Norvell, it's just so strange he has COVID. And I'm not so sure his assistants can do the same job preparing. I suppose they've had a little time before this to prepare, being a 2-week break. But crazy enough, Norvell's still coaching. He's got a big computer on the practice field with a bunch of cameras all over, filming all these guys. That's not creepy at all. So Florida State is going to have to, kind of get coached from him through the computer, and their assistants are going to try to get to him. Florida State, they are a great recruiting school, and they always have been. But what did they have last year, and what's going to make them change to being good this year? Maybe in 2 or 3 years, I can see them being better. But as far as what I can see, Miami's on a kind of a train right now of momentum. And my number is -13 on Miami. But here's the thing about betting overs that I'm scared to with Miami. Their defense is really good. They're a ball hawking defense. They have the turnover chain, and they just, they frustrated Louisville. And a lot of those yards at the end of that game were garbage yards for Louisville. I mean, Miami's leading them most of that game. So I might take a look at Miami here, small. My number is -13 on pure power ratings, not adjusted for tempo, but I could see them possibly winning by 14 points. I could see this going under and them winning this game. Blackman, I do not have any faith in Blackman at all. Miami's got 7.1 yards per play right now. It's going to be interesting to watch, but it's early, Ralph.
Yeah, well, there are games we get invested in. This just happens to be one of them. Just FYI, when you were talking about recruiting, and I happen to pull up my numbers here, last year, this was going into the 2019 season, Florida State was number 18 in the country recruiting, and Miami of Florida was 27 this year. So obviously you still have those kids on your staff. So, they had a top 18 recruiting class that are still there. This year, though, with the excitement in Miami that Miami's brought in, Miami finished number 13. Florida State fell back to 22nd. That is one of the, I'm going to say, first time in a dozen years that Miami has beaten Florida State in the national recruiting rankings.
That is something to keep an eye on. Great call right there. Maybe a change in direction, but I do like Mike Norvell as a coach and what he did at Memphis. So I think they made the right move. It just might take a while for Florida State to gel. Let's move into an interesting game. And I say interesting because we have an option team here. Army versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati's minus 14, and I'm starting to see it drop, minus 13.5. The total is a low 46.5 points. I'll say a couple quick things here. Army's been the sweetheart so far for sports bettors. 2-0 against the spread. They're a military academy. They seem to suck one year and break the next. Suck, great. That's just kind of how these academies been lately. But I kind of smell a public dog here. I kind of smell some money coming in on Arby from the public from what they saw. But I only have Cincinnati by 8 points on a pure power rating. But I just do not like how Army matches up against Cincinnati, right? Army does run the triple option, and they do it pretty darn well. But the teams they played were god-awful, right? Not good teams. They're actually terrible. They're terrible teams. Cincinnati returned a good amount of defense at 76%, ranking 33rd in the nation. Cincy ranks 24th in the nation in rushing yards per play, I believe allowing only 3.64 from last year in a pretty good American Athletic Conference, probably the best conference outside the Power Five. 2018, Cincinnati floored a similar option team in Navy, 42-0. So just 2 years before that, they played an option team and shut them out. It kind of shows me that maybe Luke Fickell can guard the option. This number's too high for me right now, but I'm going to watch it and see how far the public takes Army down. What's your thoughts?
I think you summed it up very well, because this is one of those games where my number is different than my power rating number. Basically, I go through exactly how you explained the game, Kev. I have my power rating numbers. I had them in the summer. I tweaked them in August. I put them out there, and I make adjustments each week, and I put them away. I mark them down in the schedule, and I look at what they are. But then I go through the game and say, let's take a look at this team. Cincinnati, what do we know? Well, we know that the Bearcats are a team that last year went 11-3. Played the number 47 schedule. We know this is a Bearcats team that went 9-5 against the spread. We know this is a Bearcats team that returned 14 starters this year, 6 on offense, including their quarterback, 8 on defense. Did the offseason affect them? Not really. You have Luke Fickell and Denbrook and Marcus Freeman, in your fourth year. And in fact, there were many teams hunting for your DC Marcus Freeman, and you had to pay him crazy money for an AAC defensive coordinator, which you did. Well, now it's time to make up for that coordinator. A couple years ago, in 2018, you played Navy, and guess what? You shut Navy out. You beat them 42-0. So this staff has prepped for the option. You look at what Army brings to the table. This Army team last year, let's forget, they were only 5-8. They played the number 108 schedule in the country, and they were only plus 5.5 points per game. Yes, they have back their 12 starters, which is normal for an academy. And, the one thing about, Army is this. I played on Army week 1 against Middle Tennessee because these schedules weren't made in advance and they were made on a fly. So if you're Middle Tennessee or if you're ULM and you didn't know you were playing Army, I'll tell you a story. This was Urban Meyer, Ohio State AP top 10 team that was playing Navy, and they were probably going to be a 30-point favorite. But Urban Meyer talked about practicing the option every day in spring practice and spending 5 to 10 minutes every day in August. This is an AP top 2 or 3 team playing a team they're going to be a 28-point favorite on. How about if you're a team like Middle Tennessee and ULM who wasn't planning to play the option? It gets to be August, all of a sudden you decide you're playing football, and then they add an option team. You have not practiced for the option. Your kids don't know what chop blocking is. You have no idea how to stay in your lanes and handle the option. So now we're 3 games in. Cincinnati now knows they've had to play the option. They've prepped for the option another season. It's much easier for this defense to put up a game plan. So I completely agree. Playing Middle Tennessee and ULM and winning both, even though it's 79-7, don't color me impressed yet. Having Cincinnati Austin Peay 55-20, should they have beaten them by more? Yes, but I'm not worried. They had a game under the belt. They knew they had a bye, and then they knew they were playing Army. This is a situation where I think Cincinnati is ready for them. I think Cincinnati shuts them down, but I am not going to play the game because going back to my original power ratings, which I put a lot of work on, it only shows 7, and I'm not going to lay the difference. So there's a lot of games when I make 2 numbers. I make my power rating number, which goes on my schedule. Then I go through the game, basically just how I did it, statistically, matchup-wise, look at the positions, come up with a second number. And if those 2 numbers aren't on the same side, if they're conflicting, it's simply I don't have a play on the game. It is a low total, but I know Cincinnati won't mind running the ball. They ran the ball 41 times against Austin Peay. Desmond Ridder is not going to get put into harm's way. He's not going to run the ball. I think that makes their offense more methodical. And I'd like the first half bet more here. The first half, you don't have that sense of urgency if a team is behind by 10 or 14. So I'm going to give a suggestion out here that I'd like to play the first half under the total, be it as small it is. But the option's going to run up that clock. Cincinnati's going to run out that clock as well.
Loving it. Great advice on that one. We have time for one more game here. Kentucky versus Auburn. And I do have a play on this one. Auburn's laying 7.5 points. The total on this is 48.5. This is one I've had circled for a while because I've been higher on Auburn than most of the mainstream media, most of the power ratings out there. It's been my kind of outlier. They're intriguing to me because they returned their quarterback. They returned a lot of their skill positions, and Malzahn and their give consistency at coach there. They boast top 11 recruiting classes on 24/7 Sports the last 3 years. That's consistent. That's kind of like in the Clemson range. They do lose some trenches to the draft, but they returned a decent amount of production, 60% on both sides of the ball. I like how they returned Seth Williams and Matthew Hill at wide receiver. Chad Morris he's a great coordinator. He didn't really get much of a shot at a Bielema decimated Arkansas. Only 2 years there. He didn't even get to play his guys. My power ratings on them are literally 21 points better than the average team, right? Kentucky, on the other hand, they've had some quarterback injuries last year. They had a Lynn Bowden start. The wide receiver had to start in the end of the year. Terry Wilson's the guy that's going to play. 65% completion percentage is pretty good, but he's not as highly regarded as Bo Nix. Kentucky's got a nice returning production too, ranking 25th in the nation, 73%, I believe, total. And they have a nice +1 yard net per play, but their schedule was really easy last year. Their schedule ranked 61st in the nation, and Auburn's ranked 2nd in difficulty last year. They played everybody. Kentucky, recruiting in the 30s. They're way past what they used to be over there with Stoops. I mean, they've grown a lot, but they're not that high to me yet. I literally have Auburn by over 2 touchdowns. And I'm going to take them at the minus. I got them at -7, but I'm going to also give it out for free at -7.5. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna end this on a conflicting note. I like this Kentucky team, and I like this matchup, and the reason why are the exact opposite of what you said. Yes, Auburn's returning their skill players, but I'll tell you what, you lose all 5 offensive linemen. You lose 2 defensive linemen to the draft. You lose all 4 DBs. That's what made their defense so good last year, because you had a defensive line that could pressure, and with those secondary people playing one-on-one, boy, you had those linebackers being able to do anything they want. So now you have this young team. Yes, you have Kentucky, which has 15 returning starters. I'll tell you what, you can make it 16, because who do we have back? Oh, yeah, we have the guy that started 2 years ago. You talked about it. Lynn Bowden got hurt. Well, remember Lynn Bowden started in 2018. Terry Wilson started in 2018, threw for 1,900 yards. Lynn Bowden came in, and after he was injured, you had a wide receiver playing quarterback and doing great. Lynn Bowden, they ended up winning 4 straight and covering 4 straight. As far as the recruiting goes, I can't argue that. Auburn, last year, Auburn was number 11 in the country. This year, they're number 7 in the country. That puts you in elite mode. Although Kentucky's probably never been to 23 like they were this year in recruiting, I will tell you this. 7 to 23 is a huge gap when you're looking at talent. 50, if I take a 50 or 16-point difference from 50s to 60s in recruiting, you're probably talking the identical players. But when you're talking top 8, those are where the 5% guys go. Those are where the elite guys go. So Auburn does have the elite. Completely agree with that. But Bo Nix with a new front line, the defensive with those 6 guys that are gone on the back end, I think Kentucky has a big enough offensive line with 5 returning starters, with the quarterback back, with a D-line that's back. It's a situation where they also have, they're familiar with the Arkansas situations because they played Arkansas last year, and they have Joey Gatewood, a transfer quarterback from Auburn, which I'm sure helps them with some of the offensive tendencies. So you put it together, I actually think Auburn's offense, although they will get much better as their O-line progresses, with this being the first game and them trying to get their timing under the belt, I'm going to take the better offensive line in this game for sure and back to Kentucky Wildcats.
All right. Well, it looks like we have a crossfire here. Let's do this for a beer, man. Next time I see you, we have to make a little bet on this, Ralph.
You got it. The one thing I will say, we ran a little long, and I've been wishy-washy on a lot of these. We were going to talk Tennessee and South Carolina, and I do want to say this. I do like Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to be on my card. South Carolina returned Ryan Helinski, but he didn't even win the job. So, they brought in Colorado State quarterback Colin Hill because of Mike Bobo is now the OC there. Colin Hill beat him out. Colin Hill didn't even win that Colorado State job under Bobo, yet they're going to go to him. I think Tennessee has the makings of a special season. They had some COVID issues early, but they are a best bet for me, and they will be on my card for Saturday, just to come out at least strong with one game on this pod.
At the 3.5.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. I'm okay with them. My power ratings have them at 7, and if this line opened 4.5 and stayed 4.5, I would still be on Tennessee.
All right. Well, I'm with you on that one, Ralph. As a matter of fact, we did run out of time, but I was going to actually agree with you. Jarrett Guantanamo Bay, quarterback for Tennessee, Guarantano's his real name. He is poised for a breakaway season. They do return a lot of great guys there. So liking that one, man. Great call there. Anything else you want to throw out there for our listeners before we go?
We're in for a hell of a season, and there's a lot of uniqueness. And really, I've said this numerous times, don't try to guess what's going to happen. There's these SEC games that people want to jump on action. I'm only going to play that one SEC game. Tennessee will be my only time, because we don't know how COVID is affected. We really don't know how many players are going to be missing. Just be conservative to start the season. There's plenty of action coming up. Don't try to jump out of the gate and all of a sudden guess what you think's going to happen with all these SEC teams and all these AC teams playing conference games this early. learn with the season, progress with the season, make your changes as the season progresses, and make those stronger bets when you're sure and we know what those teams are later in the year.
That's some great advice right there. Make sure you follow Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV. Ralph, where can we find your great information and plays?
Well, like I said, Cal Sports LV, if there's ever a situation you want to figure out, hit me up on Twitter. I'm happy to look it up. And if you go to wagertalk.com and go to the Ralph Michaels page, you're going to see free downloads often. I have multiple free downloads available, and I keep adding information up there.
Make sure you guys check out Ralph Michaels over at wagertalk.com. We would have went longer if we could, but we had to modify our schedules a little bit today for some things that popped up. Now it is time to get into
the sharp side of the force.
The Sharp Side of the Force is brought to you by uwager.eu. For a 50% sign-up bonus, please visit uwager and use the promo code ODDSBREAKERS. All right, let's get into college football sharp sides for Week 4. And some of the books are a little bit late to actually report on some of this stuff, but we'll do the best we can. UAB. Sharp money on UAB, minus 4.5 to minus 6.5 at South Alabama. 66% of the tickets on UAB, but 95% of the money. Looks like a 29% difference there. Pittsburgh minus 2.5 hosting Louisville. 40% of the tickets are on Pittsburgh, but 74% of the money is on Pittsburgh. Sharp money on Oklahoma minus 27.5 hosting Kansas State. 61% of the tickets are on Oklahoma, but 98% of the money. You wonder if it's because of the revenge spot from last year. Syracuse plus 7.5 hosting Georgia Tech. 55% of the tickets on Q's and 95% of the money is on Q's. I need a bigger spread myself to bet Q's. Ole Miss plus 14.5 hosting Florida. 64% of the tickets on Ole Miss, but 99% of the money is on Ole Miss. Iowa State minus 2.5 at TCU. 59% of the tickets on Iowa State, but 93% of the money. LSU minus 16.5 hosting Mississippi State. 54% of the tickets on LSU, but 74% of the money. 20 percentage point difference. Louisiana Monroe minus 8 to minus 9.5 hosting UTEP. 73% of the tickets on Louisiana Monroe and 99% of the money. I was gonna give out Louisiana Monroe, but that's actually up to 10 now in most books. So it went a little bit farther past where I'd give it out as a free play. We gave it out at minus 8. Arkansas, sharp money on Arkansas, plus 26.5 hosting Georgia. 36% of the tickets on Arkansas. 98% of the money is on Arkansas. That's a pretty big overlay right there, like 60%, 62% percentage points. Florida Atlantic, minus 3, sharp money, hosting South Florida. 43% of the tickets on Florida Atlantic, but 74% of the money on Florida Atlantic. Sharp money on Missouri, plus 28, hosting Alabama. 5% of the tickets on Missouri, 32% of the money is on Missouri. Looks like a 27 percentage point difference. Florida State, plus 11.5 at Miami. 41% of the tickets on Florida State, and 97% of the money is on Florida State. And I disagree with that. Sharp money on NC State from plus 9 down to plus 7, getting close to 6.5 here. 53% of the tickets on NC State, 99% of the money on NC State. I disagree, and it's because of the COVID, but we don't know anything yet. They're talking like Virginia Tech's not going to have a full roster. Well, they still return one of the most productions in the whole country, and maybe a lot of that roster was a bunch of backups. So waiting for more information on that. Sharp money on Troy, plus 15.5 down to plus 14 at BYU. 41% of the tickets on Troy, 97% of the money is on Troy. Big overlay. Tennessee, minus 3 to minus 3.5 at South Carolina. Dual action, 71% on Tennessee and 97% of the money is on Tennessee. Probably Ralph Michaels money. NC State, plus 9 down to plus 6.5 at Virginia Tech. 53% of the tickets on NC State and 99% of the money is on NC State. Sharp totals. Louisville versus Pittsburgh, under 54.5. 26% of the tickets on the under. 67% of the money is on the under. Sharp money on West Virginia versus Oklahoma State under 55, down to 51.5. 55% of the tickets are on the under, but 83% of the money is on the under. UTEP versus Louisiana Monroe under 49.5, down to 48.5. 57% of the tickets are on the under, but 90% of the money is on the under. Georgia versus Arkansas under 52.5. 63% of the tickets are on the under, but 94% of the money is on the under. Man, Ralph wasn't wrong when he said a lot of sharp money on the unders this week. Tennessee versus South Carolina under 48, down to 43.5. 48% of the tickets are on the under, but 99% of the money is on the under. That's all we have for totals right now because we didn't get a lot of reporting. But if you like to check back with us, we release an article. We'll like to add a few for you. Let's get into Sharp NFL Week 3. This is as of Wednesday afternoon. Sharp money on Jaguars. Pick them all the way to -3, hosting the Dolphins. 68% of the tickets on the Jags. 89% of the money on the Jags. A 21 percentage point difference. Tennessee, pick them to -2.5. 78% of the tickets are on Tennessee, and 99% of the money is on Tennessee. Kind of a dual action there. Sharp money on the Bears at the Falcons. 30% of the tickets are on the Bears, but 53% of the money is on the Bears. That is an ugly one. Sharp money on the Giants, +6.5 down to +4, hosting the 49ers. 37% of the tickets are on the Giants, but 91% of the money is on the tickets. Wow. Sharp money on the Patriots, -5.5, hosting the Raiders. 51% of the tickets are on the Pats, but 74% of the money is on the Pats. Sharp money on the Eagles, -5.5, hosting the Bengals. 46% of the tickets are on the Eagles. 97% of the money is on the Eagles. Not even going to mess with old backdoor Burrow right there. Too much meat on that bone. Bills, -2, hosting the Rams. 36% of the money is on the Bills, but 79%, of the tickets are on the Bills. 79% of the money is on the Bills. That's a pretty big overlay of 53 percentage points right there. As you know, we gave out the Bills earlier. Sharp money on the Panthers, +6.5 at the Chargers. 40% of the tickets are on the Panthers, but 78% of the money is on the Panthers. New rookie quarterback starting there, Herbert, for the Chargers. Sharp money on the Cowboys, +5.5 down to +4.5 at the Seahawks. 27% of the tickets are on the Cowboys. 90% of the money is on the Cowboys. Sharp money on the Broncos, +4.5, hosting the Bucks. 15% of the tickets are on the Broncos, and 38% of the money is on the Broncos. Sharp money on the Saints, -3, hosting the Packers. 24% is on the Saints, but 92% of the money is on the Saints. That's a 68 percentage point difference right there. Pretty huge of the sharp money on the Saints right there. Wow. Lots of public action on the Packers there. I actually kind of lean the Packers too. I'm not playing it. This scares me. Sharp money on the Ravens, -2.5 to -3.5, hosting the Chiefs. 40% of the tickets are on the Ravens, but 88% of the money is on the Ravens. Looks like the Ravens have nothing to lose, all to gain by beating the Chiefs up. Sharp totals. NFL. Dolphins versus Jaguars over 44-48. Pretty big move. Dual action. 76% on the over of the tickets and 98% of the money is on the over. Sharp money on the Bears versus Falcons under 47.5. 40% of the tickets are on the under. 99% of the money is on the under. Sharp money on the 49ers versus the Giants over 40.5 to 42. 48% of the tickets are on the over. And 99% of the money is on the over. Pretty big overlay there of 51 percentage points. Raiders versus Patriots under 48. Sharp money's on the under there. One of those rare NFL unders lately, right? 28% of the tickets are on the under. 99% of the money is on the under. Sharp money on the Cowboys versus the Seahawks, over 55.5. 74% of the tickets are on the over, but 95% of the money is on the over. And I just want to say that look at the wind during that game. Sharp money on the Bucks versus the Broncos, under 44.5 down to 43.5. 47% of the tickets are on the under, and 99% of the money is on the under on that. That's the end of sharp totals and sharp sides for the NFL. All right, now let's get into a little UFC 253 pay-per-view event. And the main event is awesome here. We have Israel Adonijah versus Paulo Costa, and I searched my ass off for a play on it, and I could not find one. The spreads are right on it. Paulo Costa deserves to be a plus 158, close to Israel, or he deserves to not have the other fighter, Israel Adonijah, the champ, over minus 200, because Costa has just been a beast. He could catch Israel Adonijah with a couple punches maybe, and then this fight will be over and the plus money hits. If I'm going to lean anything on that, it's Paulo Costa. But the play I have is Dominic Reyes minus 280 versus Jan Blachowicz, and I got to tell you, Reyes is a huge favorite here, minus 280. Jan is plus 240 here. Looking at this fight, looking for an angle. It's a 5-round fight. All right. They're giving them 5 rounds too, because you have 2 main events. This is for the 205 light heavyweight championship, right? Well, I think John is going to be a little bit outmatched here. I don't even think he should be the contender here, but it is what it is. They want to fill the belt. Dominic Reyes is the man to do it, and his last loss was to John Jones, right? As a matter of fact, his only loss was to John Jones in a decision, right? So, and John Jones, we know how great he is. And I watched this fight, and I personally did not think that John Jones necessarily even won this fight. He played the, hold you against the ring, hold you against the octagon, and then some typical John Jones back step away, get to a decision type fight. And John Jones is one of the best at. Him and Usman is definitely the best at that style of fighting. But, Dominic Reyes is still a badass, and that's why he's such a huge favorite. Because of that fight makes me lean to Dominic Reyes winning within the distance at plus 110. A lot of Reyes' fights have went to a decision in the past. He has 7 KO, TKOs, 2 submissions, and 3 decisions. His only loss was that decision there. And if you look at Jan Blachowicz, he has 7 KOs, 9 submissions, and 10 decisions. Jan might try to get him to the ground a little bit, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that. My thing here is I don't think that John at 37 years old is going to last the whole 5 rounds. I think he's going to, kind of fade out towards the end here, right? I almost would consider betting over 2.5 rounds and not to finish in a decision personally. I'm still looking at some more angles to this fight. But I do know that Dominic Reyes should win this. And if you look at John's last few fights, he did beat Corey Anderson by KO in the first round. He won in the split decision in 5 rounds against Souza, but Souza's not that good. And then before that, it was a KO in the second round he won. Then he lost to Thiago Santos fight before that in February of 2019 via TKO. And then before that was a submission where he won. So he doesn't always go to decision there. And now he's going to fight a fighter that can TKO him in Dominic Reyes. And I think it's going to happen within 5 rounds. And I like the fact that you're getting plus 110 here for Reyes to finish this fight compared to the minus 280. I think the plus 110 is too tempting here. I'm going to take that for a couple stars here on your free UFC play.
Well, I've been with the best, and I beat the best. I've retired more men than Social Security.
All right, well, that will do it, my friends, for podcast 53. If you have any questions or any NFL or college games that you would like us to break down, please contact us at the Odds Breakers via the website or DM us via Twitter. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe this podcast, and go get some winners.